Former President Donald Trump indicted by Joe Biden's DOJ. Trump now facing 4 new criminal charges and a 3rd indictment. He's scheduled to appear in a Washington, D.C. courtroom tomorrow. Join me now, Donald Trump attorney John Lauro. John, talk to us a little bit about, I saw you on the news. You went on CNN, you went on the left-wing media, and they were giving you a bit of a hard time, not understanding your point. Give us, are you shocked you're getting pushback from them?
Well, Eric, first of all, good to see you. This is an extraordinary time we live in. This is the first instance where a sitting president has used his Justice Department to attack a political opponent, a prior president, using the criminal law and basically criminalizing Mr. Trump's free speech. And the allegation here is essentially that Mr. Trump didn't follow the political narrative imposed by the Biden administration, that the election in 2020 was without any issue or without any concern. And Mr. Trump, exercising his First Amendment rights, fought back, challenged, and ultimately followed a constitutional protocol that was provided to him by counsel. And now all of that political speech and political advocacy is being prosecuted in a court of law rather than being hashed out in an election. So we're in uncharted territory right now.
Do you think you can get this thing thrown out just because Jack Smith gets a grand jury to trump up some charges, so to speak? It feels like they're trying to say you can't have an opinion that disagrees with the people in power.
You know, Eric, I wish I could get it thrown out in a motion. It's very hard to do in criminal cases in the federal system. But ironically, what the government has done is essentially say we want to relitigate the 2020 election. So now we're going to be able to draw back that curtain and have all of the American people watch and understand what happened in the 2020 election. You know, there were hundreds of people that came forward with affidavits, with sworn testimony. Were all of them co-conspirators? Were they involved in some kind of effort to overthrow the election, or were they just simply good and decent Americans that had concerns? And Donald Trump, as President of the United States, took an oath to uphold the law. And part of that was making sure that all of those issues got litigated and all of those issues got addressed.
Yeah,
that's not criminal. That's doing your job.
Yeah, and it's what every American should want to do, and it's protected rights by the First Amendment. The founding fathers knew that.
Yes.
Now let's bring in constitutional law attorney Katie Cherkasky. Katie, what strikes me in these things, when these litigations happen, discovery, I'm wondering if the Trump team can go ahead and dip into some of the things that were going on between the Attorney General Merrick Garland and perhaps the Biden administration. Can we find out what this was all about? Is this beyond just legal and becoming political?
Well, I think it's beyond political at this point. And in addition to what Mr. Lauro was saying regarding Mr. Trump's First Amendment rights, I think that at a baseline, this case has serious jurisdictional issues, constitutionally speaking, regarding the prosecution of a former president for acts that he undertook while in office that are arguably in extension of his rights as the executive to ensure the regularity of elections, to look into those matters. So I think this case is purely political. It is incredibly weak from a statutory analysis perspective, and I fully support the defenses that are being raised, and I'm sure that more will arise as more evidence comes out, certainly.
And then very quickly, Katie, this whole idea that now we need a speedy trial, 2.5+ years, since January 6, 2020, and now all of a sudden we need a speedy trial. Your thoughts on that quick?
Well, I'm a criminal defense attorney, and it's always amusing that the government takes years and years to investigate these cases and then wants the defendant to rush to trial. The government has no right to a speedy trial. That right is the defendant's right. So certainly his counsel need appropriate time to go through the voluminous evidence in this case and to properly prepare for a case that the government has had for many years at this point. So the judge will be the ultimate decider of that, but those are significant considerations. And again, it is the defendant's right, not the government's.
Final thought, John. Katie makes a great point, but also that judge is a very harsh judge on anything surrounding January 6th.
Yeah, no, I love listening to constitutional experts like Katie, because you're absolutely right. And, Mr. Trump and all Americans are entitled to a fair trial, not just a speedy trial, but a fair trial. And that means understanding all the evidence, getting a chance to look at what the government's investigated for 3.5 years. And after we do that, we're going to try this case and we're going to win.
John, you stand up for the former president, and Katie, you keep standing up for the Constitution. We love you both. Katie Shkatsky and John Lauro, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, folks, Newsmax wants to know what you think. Did Trump really commit a crime over the 2020 election, or is this indictment an attempt by the Biden administration to stop Trump's run for president? Vote now in our urgent poll. Just text the word Trump, and we'll send you a poll link. It takes just seconds. We also want to know if you're still voting for Trump for president. So vote now. All right, coming up, is it a coincidence that every time new information is revealed on the alleged Biden corruption scheme, a new Trump indictment immediately drops? Folks, there are no coincidences in Washington. Up next, Congressman Chip Roy will join me to discuss how a weaponized DOJ protects the Bidens and prosecutes the Trumps.